Sleeper is the #1 fantasy sports app. It pays to know sports. Pick more or less on top players. Your first pick is on us, so start winning now. Play in Texas, Georgia, Minnesota, and 27 more states. Pick anytime across all sports, pregame or live. Over 10 million players are already on Sleeper. Make your picks count. Score up to 1,000 times your cash. Join today. Get up to $100 credit using code NEST. Call your shot on Sleeper. Download now.
Well, sometimes you got to go down on your belly, crawl under razor wire behind enemy lines, but sometimes you got to get back to the back, as they say. Get to the back. I want you at the back. You got to be behind some friendly lines, and that's what we get to today. My good friend Dan Viens in the house here from Seahawks Forever, helping me here with some last-minute breakdowns and also a little bit of reaction today to what's going on around the NFL, because it carries a lot of intrigue for our Seahawks. But first up, Dan, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm really good. Yeah, just have had a nice football-filled weekend, albeit one without any of the games that are being carried on ESPN or ABC. But thankfully, there's enough football outside of that I was able to enjoy. College yesterday and then today, and some unbelievable games today around the league.
Some very much games that felt like had more heat this week. Last couple of weeks, there have been some matchups where you're just like, man, that's all we got in the early slate. And this one felt a little bit more like, even if weren't teams were really good, there was at least some good fights and some good battles. So, Dan, I want to go through really quickly today at the start of this before we get to, previewing a little bit of this matchup with the Commanders and looking at the trade deadline. Let's, from your standpoint, react to kind of what we've seen here from today. First, we've got the Ravens Ravens winning on Thursday Night Football, keeping their season hopes alive. Broncos today barely edged out the Texans. CJ Stroud goes down. The Steelers are able to beat the Colts, and fairly convincingly, though the Colts were able to make a little bit of a comeback in this one. The Niners lose another defensive end for the year, and yet find a win at 34-24. The Patriots edge out the Falcons 24-23, and that's, I think, good from our standpoint as far as looking at these teams if we're going to be in the hunt for the wild card if we can't get the division. Chargers are able to take care of the Titans, though the Titans made it interesting 27-20. And in the upset of the day, Dan, the Panthers take down the Packers at home in Lambeau Field, 16-13 in a just, boy, I don't know what to make of the Packers. I really don't. This is a team that you can see is strong, Dan, and this is part of what I want to get some of your thoughts on. Here we go. But Vikings are able to take down the Lions, and probably almost a season-saving kind of victory for them. Also helping us with the Lions on that, lowering them down that loss column a little bit. Bears and Bengals in an absolute shootout, wild game there, 47-42. Colston Loveland's coming out party. The Rams did what we knew they were going to do, Dan. We all knew this coming through the week. 34-10 to the Saints, just absolutely blunderbust them. And then we've got the Bills right now trying to hold on against the Chiefs with that game winding down, and the Raiders and Jaguars in an oddly entertaining game, locked up horn to horn here coming down the stretch.
Yeah.
Big picture wise, you look at what's happened here this week. What are some of your thoughts about what you've seen from this carousel of the NFL?
I think there's a lot of central themes that kind of run throughout all the results today. One of the first ones is that injuries matter. We've seen time and time again this year examples of some teams just not able to overcome those injuries. We see how different that Ravens team looked on Thursday night than the one a couple of weeks ago that got absolutely run because they got some of their key guys back. We saw, Joe Alt go down again for the Chargers. And even though, they were able to eke that game out, we saw while he was out until he came back, they're just a different team. And, maybe it's a significant enough change that affects their candidacy in the AFC. But, some of the other ones, that NFC parity is a real thing. I mean, the Lions dropping to 5-3 now, the Vikings getting back to 4-4, the Packers, who's now every team in the NFC has at least 2 wins. That's kind of crazy right now, but they're all bunched up. Except with one exception, and that is, I think, one of my big takeaways from today is the Rams might be the best team in the NFC. In fact, I think right now it's pretty hard to argue against that. They're just they're the most complete team, and it's not just what they did to the Saints today. They rolled Jacksonville, going into the bye week. They look like a team that kind of got a wake-up call in that really, really frustrating loss for them against the 49ers. Now they get another shot next week at the 49ers, another team that came out today. I thought that was going to be a tricky game for them going back to the East Coast and playing a Giants team that had some juice going with Jackson Dart. Maybe they lose a little bit of that mojo because of the injury to Cam Scadaboo. The Giants kind of hung around in this one, but the 49ers end up winning again without so many of their pieces, 34-24. And yet in the process, they lose Michael Williams to what's feared is now a torn ACL. Like it's unbelievable week in, week out. Like just when you think it can't get any worse for the 49ers, they lose another guy. They went out and got Keon White last week to add to that group up front. Now he essentially replaces Michael Williams. They're both guys that can play inside and out. And yet they win 34-24. So just Rams are the best team in the NFC at this point, in my opinion. And there is no question the NFC West is the best division in football when you look at what the three teams, at least at the top of the division, are doing.
I undoubtedly, if there was ever a question, and I thought it coming into this year, I've thought it for most part of the last 10 years. I don't really always understand why, other than just we have such capable, competent, I think, owners for the most part, save maybe the Cardinals on this one. You are the Niners right now. You keep zombie thing. I call them the zombie team. They just keep lurching forward, gunshots. They're just, do you get it? I keep thinking, well, they wouldn't have to like really go over the moon here. You could do a DeMario Davis Hendrickson kind of package. I would think that like you could maybe sum that up, that you could kind of drum that up, but would you just go, no, it's too many. It's obviously everything in the stars is telling us no.
No, I don't think so. I think the exact opposite. You've proven that even without all those guys, and not just the guys that have gone down to injury this year, but all the guys they let walk out the door in the offseason to get their cash back under control. Like we're talking, when we were talking a year ago about all the blue chip players, well, half of them left in the offseason, and most of the rest of them have gone down to injury this season. Ironically, Christian McCaffrey is the one guy that stayed healthy and is probably the MVP of that team. But I think they're playing so well in spite of those injuries. You absolutely have to supplement that. And their cap's in good shape. They always have extra picks because they play the comp pick game. Like I think they can afford to go for it, because if these next few weeks get away from them, like they could be, looking at an uphill battle. The Rams are going to be hell bent on getting revenge next week. I think you're going to see the best version of them. And then the Rams turn around and play the Seahawks the next week. And so you could really, the Rams in particular, could get away from them pretty quickly if they don't make a move. I think they absolutely have to.
Coming off this week's action, the games I've seen, and every week is further additional information for you to gather to make your assessments about where you stand. And it's going to adjust as you go through the year. Coming through this week, when it comes to this particular question on kind of a one or two door answer, I came through the end of this Sunday thinking that the Seattle Seahawks are more of a contender in this NFC or less of a contender.
I think more, and obviously ask me again in a couple hours, because you just don't know sometimes how a team's going to come out of a bye week. We've seen tons of examples already in this young season about teams using the bye week to their advantage and then not, right? That Houston team that we beat on Monday night looked like a mess. And that was coming off of a bye week. Whereas, you see what the 49ers do and how sharp they looked, especially early in that game, despite the injuries. They obviously took advantage of their bye week, as did the Rams. And so, and incorporating new guys on defense too. We haven't seen, save for 4 plays, the first 4 snaps of the year, we haven't seen how Devin Witherspoon and Nick Emmanwori can coexist on the same field, and how Mike McDonald plans to use those guys. And while we're excited about the potential of that, you're talking about introducing new players into the scheme, and everyone has to be on the same page in that defense, and the calls have to be right and the reads have to be right. If they're not, you end up with a Brian Thomas walk-in touchdown like we did in Jacksonville, because Shaq and I think it was Reek over there, or maybe it was Job that miscommunicated on a play. And so until I see it, there's always the possibility that they could come out flat. But I feel so good about how they went about getting to their 5-2. The 2 losses being by a combined 5 points to 2 teams that right now are in the playoffs. And then, beating the teams they're supposed to beat. The one concern I have, and the one thing that I need to see in order to be able to say, nope, they're an absolute contender, is I'd like to see him play better with a lead. Saw some numbers this week. They're one of the few teams in the NFL, or they're one of the few winning teams in the NFL that have a negative point differential in the fourth quarter. We've seen them let teams back into games. We saw it on Monday night, although it never really felt like the game was in jeopardy. But we certainly saw it happen against Arizona, where the game very much was in jeopardy when it was a game that, early fourth quarter looked like they should turn into a blowout. And I think one of the other themes to go back to your original question, looking around the results today, is no lead is ever safe in the NFL, with just how the rules are stacked against the defense and the way that they're officiating things right now, that it's very, very difficult to play dominant defense in this league. You can't hit the quarterback. You can't touch the receivers. And we saw that all around the league, where you think a game is in hand and it's not. So if we see that tonight, if we see them come out and be really efficient early on offense and get a lead against the Commanders, almost said the other thing, I
wouldn't punish you.
It's one aspect of this team that I want to see improve, and that's putting their foot on the gas and really putting teams away.
My take on the thing, and I agree with you, it is something that needs to be, hopefully, it's a good problem to have, number one, but number two, it is a valid thing because it has shown up in a couple of games. My thinking on this and watching it game by game has been that it's been, for the most part throughout this year, that you're into that third quarter, you've got the 2 touchdown or 10-point lead, and now you can really feel the play calling being pared down, and that you're really just trying to kind of lean on. It's not as much of the defense is getting super conservative, let's say. And then it felt like this last Texans game, they actually tried to go the other direction with it and actually still try to dial some stuff up. You put the cute stuff in with Cooper Kupp. You've got the fumble with Elijah Arroyo. Is that your outlook on it, or do you have a different viewpoint on that?
No, I think it's a great clarification. I put it on the offense. I think the defense is doing just fine late. I think even in the Arizona game, like they gave up a couple 50-50 balls to a guy that's his game in Marvin Harrison. And they were missing some key defenders, had some guys go down in that game too. But I thought the defense played well enough to win in that game. It's, the offense didn't respond well after the bad call down there in the red zone, which would have been the Charbonnet touchdown to make it a 3-touchdown game. I feel like the offense after that kind of let up. And to your point, if I have a criticism of Clint Kubiak this year, a big picture criticism, not, I didn't like that play call. Those are different. Those happen in every game to every play caller. But it's that generally he seems to be better early in games. He seems to be very, very good at the scripted stuff. And I've seen some analytics comparing play callers that back that up. And then as things get a little dicey in the second half and he has to kind of adjust on the fly, not all the time, because we've seen some good adjustments. I think of the Pittsburgh game in particular. But it seems like the offense, as the game goes along, sometimes they kind of lose their way a little bit. And I think a good example is 2 weeks ago against Houston. Elijah Arroyo was a big part of that, the early scripted part for that offense. Had a couple of nice catches, and it looked like he was definitely part of the plan. And then until late, when unfortunately he actually came up with the fumble, they kind of went away from him. We'd like to see some more consistency in sort of how they use their personnel there throughout the game and take advantage of some mismatches, because there's going to be some opportunities for mismatches tonight.
And you touch on, I think, as another just a general overarching narrative, be it on this offense, stick with what's working. If this is going, you're okay to stay with that. If an Arroyo early on targeting mismatch, go back after that thing, especially in a game like this, we might see some mismatches with the off-ball inside linebackers of the Commanders. And I think that's something I've seen too, is just stay with stuff that is working. Good point on your part. A couple donos here on both of our ends. Shane, Turner Acoustic. What's up, Shane? How you doing? Thank you for the $3 donation. It says, go Hawks, 9:20 a.m. Sucks for me, though. Indeed, those down under times can be sometimes the worst. I hear about some of the times like, oof, you're getting up 1 a.m, sometimes night, and boy, it's all over the place. And it's usually never a good time. There's never usually, I think they get like one, it's not even Thursday night football. It's like maybe the 10 a.m.s, they do okay on those, but feel with you, Shane. And I say, man, true fan, getting up these early or staying up these late as you guys sometimes have to get through to the other side of it.
Well, maybe he'll really luck out, because is it 26 or 27? They're going to have a game in Australia. And is that
right? Have they decided who the teams are? Or they just, I guess they don't know.
Some thought, because I think there was, Australia is one of those countries that was like assigned as to the Seahawks as far as their fan base goes. There was something in the offseason that some people seem to think that we might be in the running for that game. So because I remember at the time Shane was the first thing I thought of. Like
I'm kind of okay because you know we've got a good Australian contingent, and then also it's not the necessarily European thing. I mean, it's still a long ass trip. Don't get me wrong, but it's like at least it's not the European thing. The way they should do it is they should do it as like the Hall of Fame game like that or something like, or it's like separate Hall of Fame game, but you give the people the extra like 5 days or something before the season starts of the build-in kind of like deal that like there seems like a creative way to do it.
Well, that seems like something they just need to figure out generally, especially with, talk continuing of eventually someday adding an 18th game.
Yeah.
If you're going to do that, there has to be a way. And I'm all for getting rid of the preseason altogether. But if you want to cut it down to 1 or 2 games, however that works, there's got to be a way they can figure in 2 full bye weeks for everyone. And then somehow, so the teams coming off of a short week because of the Thursday games don't have to turn around and play 3 games in 11 days. I feel like if you add a week, there's got to be a way with all of the, just give the assignment to AI and let it figure out. There has to be a way.
Because we were gassed after Germany. I mean, that definitely kicked that team's butt that whole trip. It seemed like there was some reverberatory effects coming off the back of that.
And was that the last time we were there?
Huh?
Was that the Tampa game? Was that?
That was the Tampa game. Remember, we were rolling into it though, and then it just you hit that roadblock, and it was like, crushing it right to a stop. Josie, thank you for the $20 donation, Joe. You are the man. Good to see you in the house as well, man. Thank you so much for that, Joe. Says, go Hawks. Daughter Kelly at the game tonight. Hoping for big games for K9. Ooh, it'd be an interesting stadium to check out. It's pretty new out there.
I almost went to the game. It's only about a 5-hour drive from here, but decided to stay put. So.
Oh yeah, that's just far enough to be just a little too far. It is.
Well, and be in the late game too. If it was a 1 o'clocker or even a 4, I would have just done it and driven back. But being that late, I would have had to stay, and I just didn't want to deal with all that.
Yeah, that wouldn't be great. But hopefully Kelly is represented well out there. I'm sure she is. Joe, as your daughter, and K9. What are you thinking about? Are we going to get another one of those busted out kind of games for K9 where he gives you the 120 and then we got to wait another game or 2 before we get another?
That was one of the things I was most excited about coming out of the bye week is like, look, we did the self-scouting thing. Sounds like maybe they're out looking for a right guard. There's a lot of reporting from, legitimately sourced reporters who have had a good track record saying that they're pretty aggressively out there looking for a potential upgrade at right guard, which tells me that they're not satisfied with where it's at. And they don't believe that they can get there just by, as Mike McDonald's been saying for weeks now, just like getting the little things right. We're close. We're really close. But we thought, well, with the bye week, maybe they can get some of that stuff sort of dialed in because there was progress against the Texans. That's a Texans team that has been absolutely shutting down running games and shutting down good runners so far this year. And yet both Charbonnet and Walker averaged 4 yards a carry. That's not bad against that defense. So I thought, okay, maybe coming out of the bye, we'll get going on this. And then we lose Eric Saubert, Jake Bobo. Sounds like Cooper Kupp. I don't know if it's been announced yet. He's not active tonight, is he? Has that been announced?
Not sure. I haven't seen the announcement yet.
It should be about now that we hear that, right?
Yeah.
Don't see anything. Yep. Here it is. Cooper Kupp is not playing. He's inactive. So Saubert, Kupp, both maybe your 3 best defenders on the edge from the receiver.
Blockers, you mean?
Yeah. Blockers in the run game from the receiver position, and then Saubert and what he does as a tight end. So just a real bummer, kind of felt like maybe there's a chance to take a step forward, but that's going to be tough to adjust to. I guess if there's any advantage, they got to put a plan in place all week without those guys looking like they were going to be ready to go. So
it's a good point. So we'll see if it does come tonight, Joe. I think that eventually, and we talked a lot in the syndicate about some of my thoughts with this being, Dan, just some of those stacked boxes. I think tonight you're going to get some true 4-man fronts. I don't think Dan's going to commit to putting a Sam linebacker down the line of scrimmage like Carroll used to do in the old school ways when he wanted to stack a box up with the safety in the box in addition to it. I think in 12 personnel, he's going to try to keep Sanders Stroll out there. So maybe there'll be that opportunity that I don't know has been there as much this year with those boxes being stacked too. Maybe that'll help some things up, but it's there. You can see with K9, it seems like it's just always it's right there ready to explode. For even just a couple game run of just like whoa, and it just doesn't quite happen, but it just seems so bloody close.
A couple other interesting notes. Darian Kendrick is a healthy scratch tonight. Milrose not active. He'll be the emergency QB. And then Cup, Bobo, Jared Ivey, Mason Richmond, Derek Young, who we knew. I thought Young was placed on IR. Maybe they haven't made that decision yet. But he must not be because he's listed as inactive tonight. It does look like Laramie Tunsil is active and ready to go at left tackle for the Commanders. That was a big question for them, although we knew Terry McLaurin was going to be out. The Kendrick thing's interesting because one of the big names being tossed around this week, and it's even picked up steam again in the last couple of days is Reek Woolen, and we were all intrigued to see what that corner rotation is going to look like tonight with all of them healthy. Well, I would think if there's any thought that you might have something cooking to trade Reek over the next 48 hours, you probably have Kendrick healthy or active for this game. Maybe it's unrelated. I don't know, but that was just, I thought that was odd.
I think it's possible. I think the thing with that is that he's so specialized into the slot, Kendrick, that's where they're really loaded up coming into this game. Emanwari, and this is a guess on my part, because like you said, we haven't seen, but my guess is that Emanwari is your number one. Witherspoon's your other outside. If something happens to Emanwari, Witherspoon goes inside. Then you've got Woolen and Job working off the outside, and that's kind of the pecking order. And they're like, look, we're not going to get down to our third slot in a game. It's not likely to happen. I guess you don't count on that potentiality. So I think as a guess that's a little bit of what they're thinking is with that. I think that the one thing is an interesting thing, because I don't know if it's as much them trying to like go get value, see what you think on this. If they're doing this, it's almost as much of we want to start Job and we don't want the problem maybe that might entail by, taking some of those steps.
Maybe the other thing that we really don't know either is how much they're even working Kendrick at outside corner, like in practice during the week. We don't know that. He'd never played slot, save for a couple of snaps here and there before he came to us, but maybe they just figured that was the quickest way to get him on the field. That's where the need was at the time. He certainly was productive in those first two games, and maybe he's just not getting enough run at outside corner for them to feel comfortable putting him in there if they need him. So,
Good place to be at this time of season, though, right? With the depth, at least having these extra bodies versus near negative bodies. Where you're like, getting a guy off the street here. I guess we're gonna have to figure this out.
Rams game goes final. Matt Stafford. I put this out on Twitter today. We thought he wasn't going to be able to walk this year, but maybe he should just have an epidural every preseason, because he might be playing his best football of his career. He goes 24 for 32, 281, and 4 more touchdowns today. And then the thing that kind of makes the Rams the scariest, they have not run the football very well this year. They had a great day running the football today. Kyron Williams, 25 for 114. Blake Corum, 13 for 58. So the two of those guys together average 4.5 yards per carry. One thing to keep an eye on there, though, Puka Nacua left and went back to the locker room in the third quarter with what they were calling a chest injury. Did not return.
Yeah, his epidermal is that's most other players' smelling salts, man.
Maybe
that's how it works.
There must have been something else in there, like
a little extra goodie, little some of that German goodness out there, some of that that Yugoslavian goodness
slipped into the vial. Yeah,
East European laboratory sweetness.
I don't know what's going on here. I just switched over, so it looks like the Jaguars are going to hold on and beat the Raiders, which is Raiders' best performance of the year. But it looks like the Raiders had Geno hit. Who's number one for them? Is that Trey Tucker?
Yeah.
Oh, they still have a chance. It's in overtime. It's 25 seconds left. Raiders are down 7 at the 2-yard line.
Okay, here we go.
Handed Genty. He gets stuffed.
He dropped that ball.
Stuffed on 1st and goal. Yeah, he had a chance. Geno hit him for what would have been the game-tying touchdown, assuming the extra point.
Gotta catch that, Rook. Come on now. Gotta catch that. Fun other little fact with that Saints game and Rams, Ruiz was down at one point and came off limping.
He was, and it was right when I turned over to the game because I wanted to watch him specifically. And then he walks off, but then he came right back in. And then I tried to focus on him, but they went 3 and out on like their next 3 drives. It's kind of hard to get a gauge for a right guard. They did sustain some drives later. Shuck kind of got better as the game went along and put some decent drives together, and got to see what Cesar Ruiz looks like a little bit, because I haven't really dove into that.
Yeah, He seems like definitely a definitive possibility here on this with how it's
Would be an
rolling.
upgrade. Yeah, he's one of those guys you watch 4 or 5 snaps and you go, he can play guard. He can
Well, and
play
again, just
NFL
that
guard.
the baseline, Dan, is just it's way down. It's right
Uh-huh.
here. See that? That's the baseline right now for the right guard position.
Mhm.
So it's like here's greatness, top of my screen, right? Here's like, oh my God, this guy's the best right guard in the league. Here's our baseline right here. So if we could just get it about right here.
To Brock Bowers for the touchdown with 16 seconds left.
Let's go, Gino. Gino playing some ballsy play today, man. He's letting it rip.
He just needed the bye week. It's interesting, and the most fascinating storyline to me about this whole trade deadline thing is the Jackson Powers Johnson situation.
Yeah.
Because I think he's a really talented dude. He's a guy that I loved coming out in the draft last year. And obviously with our needs here, studied him pretty heavily and love his attitude, just his nastiness, all of that, the versatility. Like why you would get rid of a dude like that in his second year when he's on a second round contract and your team trying to build in the trenches makes no sense to me. But yet the whispers and the reports just will not go away.
Carroll didn't draft him. Carroll was also the vice president at the time that you moved Max Unger for Jimmy Graham.
Yeah.
So, there's two different things going on here for me at once. And maybe it is just that Jackson Powers is a big old head case.
They're going for the win in overtime. They're lining up to go.
Why not?
Yeah.
This has been a long game for them, man. I mean, they're at 4. They're freaking, you know what I mean? He's like, dude, this was almost as much like the Bears-Bengal game.
Gino's got 4 touchdown throws today, too. It's been all
Yeah, no, he's been letting it rip, man. He's making some good throws.
To your point, though, it does feel like, and this game kind of even adds to this argument, I think it kind of feels like there's a sentiment there, it sounds like, where they might be patient with Pete and he might survive this. In which case,
I don't think they'll fire him. I think it's always down to, does Pete want to come through this end of this offseason and go, I want to keep hitting this and doing this. Am I still ready for the long journey this is going to take to get where we want to go? And that's
and then it sounds like how fast can he fire Chip Kelly once the season's over too? Because it sure sounds like that's not working.
And that's, that's definitely a possibility. We've seen him do that before too, where it's like, that's the coordinator. And look, he wasn't going to get this right in the first year anyway. So it's like, but he, I think, thought this thing could be probably microwaved a little bit quicker than it's really going to be able to be microwaved. Not just 45 seconds, Pete. You're going to have to de-thaw it. You're going to have to leave it out on the counter, put it in the fridge for a while. Yeah. It's one of those deals. Real quick with the Jackson Powers thing though. I mean, absent him really being that bad. And again, Pete's track record with moving centers to guard who are really natural guards. There's a lot here to me that adds up to like, you could be grabbing a part here or not part, but a player here that, is a depressed asset, still very young. We both loved his tape coming out. He's maybe not the athletic pure fit in that way, but they got him playing right guard for the love of God. And he's playing at least somewhat confidently when they have him out there.
Mm-hmm.
I still, like I maintained on the syndicate, would be willing to kind of give up more than I think most people would. It make more people uncomfortable where everyone thinks you come in and get low hanging fruit here for cheap. I'm kind of that of like, well, make it worth the Raiders' while because they're not going to just want to just move him for the sake of moving.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no situation here where they would just dump him. By the way, they lost. Gino's ball got batted down to end it. It looked like he might have been trying to throw it to Tyler Lockett. I don't know what number Tyler's wearing.
You got to punish the leapers, Dan, and they didn't punish the leaper.
It's a bummer for them, though. That would have been cool to see.
Bummer. Still like Pete going for it, though, there where it's like, well, go. And again, if I'm the Raiders, you better take advantage of this trade deadline. There's not a lot of sellers. You could really maximize out what you get. Be careful thinking you're going to be able to get the same into the off season. It doesn't always work out that way.
They have to at least trade Myers. It wouldn't make sense for them to just completely stand pat. They got to add some assets.
I've got to think that they do, but we'll see what they do. And again, with that Crosby contract as it's situated, it's in a uniquely situated spot for them to take a guy here and be able to really propel the rest of this organization into the future off the back of a deal like that. But we'll see if they've got the stones to do it because it's not usually been Pete's MO to want to roll down that road. Martin Lawrence over on your side with a $5 donation. Thank you for that,
Thanks,
Martin. He says, I think rookie players coming into the NFL right now seem to have an underdeveloped or limited skill set compared to a decade ago. Or am I wrong?
I don't think so at all. And I've talked to some people this year that think that one of the things, I think it was Max Brown was the first guy that brought this concept to my attention. It was early in the offseason because of the proliferation of, I hope I'm using that word right, of transfers in college football and players transferring so commonly from year to year. Coaches are finding at the college level, they have to dumb down their playbook so that they can accommodate these rosters changing every single year. They can't get as complex as maybe they would have been before because these guys aren't staying with them for 4 or 5 years. I found that fascinating, but it makes a lot of sense.
100% it does. On top of, I think, just to add a little another layer on top, which is exactly the same thing you're talking about. How about you need to correct this part of your skill set. You keep pushing me on this, man. I'm just going to go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how you got to figure some of these players on the coachability standpoint have been a little bit dinged, and then thusly with it, you get a limited skill set. You throw other things on this, Martin, like spread concepts, not allowing us to have offensive linemen that can really run block particularly well, or quarterbacks that haven't been moving from under center when a lot of the game's going back under center stuff. It's kind of dependent on position, where certain positions, like we see the receivers, you can kind of hit the ground running a little bit as a youngster, but other ones, I think that there's definitely an issue here. There's also the going back to less practice time that's even gone back in the college scene. Yeah. No more than 2 a day. I mean, these are the things that eventually just all end up adding up to you having less guys that are really ready to go as well as they should be, even if they played a lot of college football, quite frankly, because the NFL on some of these guys has given them also the extra year, Dan, and a little bit extra time.
That's another factor. Like we're finally done with all the extra COVID years you can get. And so I think now we're going to see the pendulum swing hard back the other way and be even more extreme than it used to be. Whereas if you were a talented player and you were rated fairly highly by the NFL advisory committee, you'd come out after 3 years because you wanted to get a contract. You wanted to make some money. Well, now you might think that, well, some of these players will stay in school longer because they can make their money. And I'm not so sure, because I think something else that can be at play here, if you're a 4 or 5 star freshman and you're getting paid before you ever even step foot on campus and you're making money right off the bat, your clock starts immediately. Your eligibility is going to go by in 3 years. You're not going to redshirt. You want to play. The team wants to play you. They want to get a return on your investment. And so I think we're going to start seeing more guys come out at 21 years old and without a lot of starts under them. Look ahead to this next draft. We've had this huge conversation for the last 3 years about how at the quarterback position, maybe teams are finally figuring out that one of the huge contributors to the bust rate that we've seen in highly drafted quarterbacks is they're just not playing enough football in college. And then Brock Purdy comes along and he's last pick in the draft and he's able to play right away, even though he doesn't have any of the big elite traits. And it's, okay, well, maybe it's because he played a lot of football. He was just more ready. Well, you look at next year's class now, the guys that we thought were going to be at the top of the class that have played a lot of football, the Klubniks and the Nussmeyers and the guys like that, they've had terrible years. They're probably not going to be first round picks. And now the guys that we're talking about at the top of the draft are guys that have started for 1 season, maybe 2. It's just a cycle that feels like it's just going to continue.
It really does. And I wonder, and I don't know if I know this is the answer from Dan, but I do wonder if maybe some of the echoes of what's going on in the pro level with back to under center stuff, less spreads conceptually stuff. I mean, I was watching Ty Simpson tape last night and he's doing under center stuff in the grub offense. And I was like,
that's ironic.
Yeah, I saw a couple, and it was in one game. It was a one game of
it.
I was a little mad. Yeah, I was a little mad in the middle of the night. I was cursing grub out a little bit. Like, really, with the wide hashes, really? Yeah,
that's another part of it. College football doesn't seem to be changing anytime soon. And so if you're a defender, for example, and coming into the pros from college, all you've done your entire career is face spread RPO teams. Like that's what you learn. That's what you learn to defend. And so if you're a weak side linebacker, like you're not being asked to come up and stack and shed and really be physical and play the run. Right. So you get to the NFL and, now I can't avoid that. That gets exposed. The way that corners cover receivers is much, much different. And then, as you said, with all the under center stuff, like even playing up front and learning your gap assignments and stuff is so different than what they're teaching these kids in college, that the learning curve is more pronounced than ever. And yet they're playing these rookies as early as they can because you have to balance out your roster and your financial resources that way. So It is a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It's hard, man. There's no easy answers on it. It is a complicated thing to try to develop and get these guys. Yeah, it makes it fun. It makes it, try to get a better understanding and clear vision of it and all that good stuff as to what's really going on, or who's the right prospect or what's the right fit. Jay Gundy, thank you for the $5 donation. Appreciate you over on Dan's side here. And again, please do, folks, if you can, for me, got down the description link section below, a direct link. That's all you got to do is you click the link. You click a link and you hit a sub button. That's like 1, 2, boom, 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 boom. Super easy. Do that here for Dan. He's been kind enough to come over here and give us some time here over the next year, just before this hopefully very exciting blowout for our Seahawks. Did I say that out loud? Jay Gundy, thank you for the $5. He says, hear me out. Walker, Mafe, and a 4th rounder to the Saints for Kamara and right guard Ruiz. And just for fun, move Bradford to nose tackle.
He's not the first one, or maybe it is him. But I've had that suggested before. Yeah, it's interesting. He's built like one for sure. Up until that part of the sentence, I took this seriously. So if we just remove that from the equation, again, and I get it, but 90% of these trade proposals I'm getting from fans the last couple of weeks have involved some combination of Walker, Mafe, or Reek. Those players are going to have next to no trade value because they're in the last year of their deal, and none of those players are going to agree to new contracts before testing free agency. And so that you have to discount. You're going to get pennies on the dollar in return for any of those players that are coming back to you. Maybe there's an exception out there. Maybe there's a team that just loves Kenneth Walker and hates that they didn't get him 4 years ago in the draft. Or maybe Pete Carroll wants to get his mitts on Reek Woolen again, and Reek wants to play for Pete. And so there would be an extension as part of any deal. I just think that those things are very, very unlikely. And that's why those players have no value. Well, I won't say no value, because there's reports again today that they are discussing those players in conversations with other teams. I just think it would have to be as part of something much bigger.
Yeah, I think I'm in full alignment with you as far as this goes. The issue here is you're giving them 2 club control players, Gundy, that neither of them are likely to franchise, and so they're getting a half season to play for a Saints team that's already on its way out the door. There's really no value to them, and the 4th rounder is a day 3 pick. So you probably would, it'd have to be separate moves to me of a Mafe goes to this team that's still kind of in the hunt of things. Maybe a Patriots team loves Mafe and they go, hey, give us one an edge guy out here. Or a Walker's going to a team like Chiefs are like, let's get a running back in here that's got a different gear than what we got in the house right now, and we'll throw you this for that. Not that tremendous assets, and then you can put those assets together to go then make maybe that supplementary move off the back of it. But it's going to be very hard to, I think, put a full package together. And
in this day and age of pick swaps, where teams are perfectly willing to do trades where they're only improving their draft position by 5 to 10 spots sometimes, maybe you do just swap your rental for another rental that's a better fit, right? If you're convinced that, Derek Hall comes back, he's healthy, and you got Nwosu and Lawrence playing at a high level, and there's another edge out there that a team's willing to make available that is more physical as an edge setter that maybe fits what you want to do a little bit better than Mafe, but they want a guy that's more of a designated pass rusher, maybe you swap guys like that. I suggested last week that, because it sounds like the Falcons are willing to trade Arnold Ebiketie. He's in the last year of his deal. They were drafted the same year, he and Mafe. In fact, he was drafted right ahead of Mafe, and there was some thought that the Seahawks actually preferred Ebiketie. Maybe they still do, and you just like, hey, let's both have a change of scenery for 2 teams that are in the playoff race. Those are pretty rare trades, but I wouldn't count it out.
Every once in a while, man. Every once in a while they pop up on that. Tony Borges Silva, thank you for the $2 donation. Could we see JSN in the slot more with Cup out?
Yeah, could. Yeah. But I think it is one of the more intriguing things of tonight, what we're going to see. Obviously, the next man up would be Torrey Horton, and hopefully see some more significant targets for him. But I wouldn't count out Cody White even though he's just been elevated from the practice squad. But he's played significant snaps for this team before. I think probably to make up for Cup's role in the offense, that probably comes from the tight ends. And you'll see maybe a little bit of their usage, maybe a little more 13 personnel tonight. We get Robbie Utes back tonight. maybe he lines up with Saubert out. Maybe he lines up in line a little bit more often than he normally does, instead of just lining up in the backfield as a fullback. So they've had an extra week to get ready for this. We might see some stuff we haven't seen yet.
It is hard to predict on this, Tony, because you would go, okay, Cooper's out, then you'd probably go right to like Bobo with his history and what he can do from the slot. And then you're like, okay, well, he's out. And then you look at the Horns more outside, White's more outside. They were even running a little bit of, finally, we got a little bit of Elijah Arroyo last week, actually, from the X. That's where he was at when he had the fumble, unfortunately. So I don't know if that's going to embolden them to run more of him out of the X, but he was operating out of there, at least some snaps there. So maybe that's the way they do roll this, because there just isn't the guy there that they can go to is feeling as good about, especially because there's so many of those, side adjustments and read it on the fly with me in the same way kind of things that the quarterback needs with those slots, sometimes with the leverage. So we'll see how they play, but I'm with Dan. I'm not really positive, Tony, on how they'll do this, though I do think you'll see an uptick, probably more snaps out of JSN in the slot tonight than we've seen throughout all of the year. I think that's fair.
Watch Ricky White get 7 targets, catch 3 balls for 80 yards and a touch, right? No, all kidding aside, though, and
I can see it.
I felt even before the Cup injury that AJ Barner and Elijah Arroyo could play big roles in this game, and we touched on it a little bit. I hate talking about it, but if just from a strictly football standpoint, if you're Clint Kubiak and you're trying to figure out how to attack this Washington team, you hear it from everyone who watches that team, analyzes that team, covers that team, very slow on defense, just across the board. Yeah. But it's the middle linebacker, and teams are picking on him. And we saw it with the Chiefs last week, and the last touchdown, I think, that kind of put it away to Rashee Rice. And like, Bobby just can't hang in coverage anymore. And you have to pick on him if you're the opposing play caller.
You really do. And Luvu's not that much better next to him, really, at the end of the day. And he's definitely not an upper top flight coverage linebacker from the Wills. So you have a lot of space to the middle of that field to go after. You've got a little bit of a hole with your injury situation to the slot. I'm with you. I think that this is where you try to attack it and you try to lean on it, and even hyper amount of targets to the collection of Barner and Arroyo. 2 talented guys, are capable of doing this. And it's the right kind of game to attack the mismatch out there on the field that's just standing like a sore thumb on a defense that's not particularly good. This is the sorest thumb maybe of this defense outside of maybe edge rush that you can really get after. So I would like to see them do it. I think you mentioned that we watched the Rams today. Didn't they show the stat in that game of the Rams of how much they were slaying with 13 personnel on the day? They finally got Ferguson back in the mix. Yeah,
their tight ends were a huge part of what they did today. And even our old friend Colby Parkinson was out there catching balls.
Mm-hmm. It can be deadly because it forces that defense. You want to go nickel, you want to go into base. And this Washington team's maybe best cornerback right now is Sam Nostrell. I know he's having a little bit of a sophomore slump, but that's just the guy they want on the field, and he's not as much an outside corner. And so when you pull him off the field for like a base down linebacker that's not Bobby or Frankie, it's a little bit of them going backwards from a personnel standpoint, I think, from what they would like to be having their strongest 11 players out on the football field.
Now, Quinn, he's evolved over the years since he left Pete, right? He plays a fair amount of man, doesn't he?
He's kind of done begrudgingly so. I broke down all of our frustrations with the Carroll defense on my behind enemy line session, and the guy went white-faced on me. He's like, you just described. I mean, I went through the whole thing, bro. I did the lack of the blitz. I did the lack of changing coverages. I did the protecting against the deep ball, soft zone, lack of any complexity. I was going through all the old bullet points, right? And he's just like, "What? You just described our defense." I went, I'm sorry, man. I know how you're going through. That's all I could tell you is what I told him. I was like, I get it. It's not fun to watch. But that's prior to this. Yeah, you're right. I went and looked at some of the base stats, and some of the base stuff still, he middle of the road blitzing. Carroll's like a 21-ish. Quinn's like a 15th-ish guy when it comes to like blitz rate for where they usually stand. So like a little bit, he runs more games up front with the twists and loops. At least he did it with Dallas. I don't know if he feels like he's got the guys to do it here now. But he is still fall back into the zone machinations. And I think he does still fall back into the deep zone pull that's always inherently in this defense for some reason. It just can't help itself.
Because I was just, if they try to put Lattimore on JSN one-on-one, to me, that's if I'm Sam and I see that, I'm audibling to it.
Well, you talk about that. I mean, one driver of where you want to put him in the slot or not, too. Maybe that you feel like he's a tremendous mismatch out there on the outside with that. Maybe you don't feel as much that with Sandmerstrill in there, being that he might be their best corner right now.
Yeah.
You got Amos or you got Lattimore, and both those two guys you feel like JSN should be able to get after. And another thing with this defense, we know with the old Carroll defenses, right? Not a lot of tendency to double team guys. Yes, they will drop to space to depth, and the safeties will be back there, cover 6, cover 2. You'll get all of that stuff, but they're not necessarily bracket coveraging a double team. It's going to leave, for the most part, guys with one-on-one opportunities there. And a lot of times with you in zone where where you can go and attack and go after and get it.
Yeah.
Megan coming in with a big old $100 donation.
Another Aussie.
Let's go, Megan. She heard us. She heard us talking about Australia, and her ears pricked up. No doubt about that.
Brandon Kane, Hawks Nest, biggest Seahawks podcast in Australia.
Oh, I love it.
You heard it here first.
I love it. That's my most prideful thing. That's probably my most. I'm not lying. I love it, man. I'm gonna get down there someday too.
I don't know
Megan,
if I don't know if I can do the spiders, man.
You know if you can do the spiders? Come on, bro.
I've seen
they got
those,
safe spaces.
I've seen too many of those videos. I can't do it.
Everything out there is trying to get you. Just don't go in the water.
They say everything can kill you there. Yeah.
Just don't go in the water. That's the big key. Megan, you're awesome as always, though, with so much of the support to the channel. Really appreciate the $100 donation. Greeting, boys. 2026 Rams versus Seahawks. Earl Thomas and Blitz in Melbourne on the weekend. Kelly Green Largent. Jersey on and midday here for the game. Let's F it go. Hey, let's go. Thank you so much, Megan. Really appreciate you for that. And I can see it. I can see Seattle. You mentioned they've been kind of designated as that team. It makes a lot of sense. We're kind of somewhat close to going down there. So I think it'd be a cool environment. And I know that the Australians would love getting to see some football in person.
Yeah, my lady's been bugging me to get a passport because I've never had one. That would be just another reason on the list to get one.
That would be fun. We just do a whole remote session, dude. We'll just do a thing where that'd be great. See, that's all the more reason if they did it at the start of the year where we weren't all like in the grips of the season, we could like totally plan it out right. You get a good traveling contingent going too. But thank you, Megan, for the big old $100 donation. I really appreciate all of you do for the channel. And Dan's on to something with us. I think it's coming. I think it's maybe coming. Maybe with a team there. We'll be about due too for the international game about that time too, Dan, from the Germany thing. So we'll be next up for the list with that one.
Yeah, I feel like we've gotten a little bit of a pass when it comes to we've had 2, right?
I think that's right. Yeah, that's true because we did the Raiders one, but we should get a pass because we travel more than anybody else in the NFL. It's like if there's one team that you'd be like, let's back it off on them. I know everybody worldwide wants to see them. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know they are the best to watch, but just we're going to have to dial it up here. VM Seahawks, thank you for the $2 donation. Says, keep playoff OT for playoffs. Too many ties this season.
Was there another tie today?
Well, there's almost a tie with the Raiders, I think. And I think we need more coaches going for 2 at the end of the game. I need more big balls, Pete.
There you go. Yeah. I thought that was good for him, but he's trying to find that edge for them down there and build a little bit of culture and stuff. You don't want to. I think it's better for where they're at in their development right there to go for 2, lose the game than if they had just kicked it, tied it up, and then lost.
Agreed. Because I don't think missing this opportunity. Some these players are like, man, why'd coach do us wrong like that? I don't think any player saying that in the locker room coming out of it. He gave us a chance to go get the win. We got an opportunity, and I think they appreciate that type of thing. So I agree. I love that move from him there. I think
it could also just be him saying that he didn't trust his defense too, though. That would be
there is that. There is that other side of the coin, Dan. That does exist.
Understandable.
To your point, you had given up a nice clean 30 plus there to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and so the Travis Hunter-less Jacksonville Jaguars is that. Yeah. Thank you. They'll feed me. I'd rather be flying an X-wing on your side with the fiver. Thank you for that. I'd rather.
Nice.
All those changes in college football, we could really use a football minor league. Really hope the XFL, USFL becomes permanent. Me too. Me too.
It sounds like they're intent on it. I didn't think it would survive last year. But it sounds like not only are they going to be around this spring, but they have like a long-term expansion plan in. It sounds like maybe a team back in Seattle again. Although now, and this seemed like a long time coming, they're going to play in smaller stadiums, maybe smaller markets. I agree. I just don't think, for whatever reason, and this doesn't make any sense to me, the NFL has been reluctant to invest enough. I know that they give a little bit of financial support to the league, but to really truly invest the way that they did in NFL Europe and allocate players in the offseason and allow teams to protect players. It would essentially be your practice squads. You'd still have 70 per team, as Mike McDonald likes to talk about a lot, and then be able to farm those out to those teams and still hold their rights. So those futures contract guys that you sign every February, they essentially would have a place to play and try to develop, especially when it comes to quarterbacks. The only problem is the NFL would have to take control of it to some extent. And the reason I say that is because, to me, the biggest failure of spring leagues the last however long they've been trying to do this again now, 5-6 years, is the quarterback play. Like, they don't commit to developing young quarterbacks. You get these guys that just is it Adrian Martinez? No, he's the one that's on
There's two brothers, I think, on that one.
There's a couple of guys like Jordan Ta'amu is another one where they just keep regurgitating these same 30, 32-year-old quarterbacks, just keep, showing up every year in the spring. Those, I thought there was a little bit of a shift last year. Like guys like Matt Corral were getting an opportunity to play. Those are the guys that should play, like practice squad quarterbacks that might have the ability to be more than that, need a place to play and get reps. I don't understand why the NFL doesn't want to commit to that, but they really should.
They really should. And you talk about investment. Look at what the baseball puts into the minor leagues. You got all these different levels. I mean, it's not just A-ball, AA, AAA. It's the rookie, summer, winter league. Like the international stuff. I mean, they put that in and that's the sport that you have to have that. But it'd be nice to see the football just do to your point, just do a bit of that. You just need one minor league. You don't need 5 levels. Just have one league you set up with a real shortened market span and shortened reach. If anything, don't 32 teams do 16 or something, and do it in these smaller markets.
Exactly. Where 16. They're gonna. Yep. And every team has 2 teams worth of allocations. Yeah. It was Luis Perez was the guy I was thinking of. He has played for, in his 8-year career, the Rams, and then the Birmingham Iron, the Eagles, the Lions, the Los Angeles Wildcats, the New York Guardians, the New Jersey Generals, the Rams, the Vegas Vipers, the Arlington Renegades, the Chargers, and then the Dallas Renegades. Like,
it's a hell of a resume.
He's 31 years old now. He's about to turn 32. Like, appreciate his persistence, but that can't be the kind of guy that's not what spring leagues should be for.
No. And there's plenty of these young quarterbacks coming out that could use some time and seasoning and playing real pro and under center stuff. And this is such an easy problem to me to solve if they could just get their line, but they've got to put the investment out there. That's kind of the baseline on it. Chad Hart has just become a member over on your side of it there. So thank you for doing that. Chad, welcome aboard on Seahawks Forever. Mark Sanchez celebrating 24 months here on my end. Thanks for that, Mark. Says, Dan, I suggested a trade for JPJ with B. Do you know why he's in the doghouse? He got benched against the Chiefs and is on the block.
First of all, Mark, thanks for taking time out of your complicated life nowadays to be on our show with us. That's nice. So was he benched against the Chiefs, or did they pull some guys because the game got out of hand? That's how
I've heard some back and forth that he's gotten benched, but I haven't looked into like the full, confirmation of it, as of yet. There seems to be some sort of inference here.
Played 100% of the snaps today, and then the 2 games preceding the Chiefs game, which followed that whole kind of awkward weirdness where he was a healthy scratch for that one game, he played 100% of the snaps those 2 games too. So even though, until the trade deadline comes and goes and he's still a Raider, I'll believe it when I see it. I have a harder time believing that they would be dumb enough to trade him than I do believing the trade buzz.
That's what we come down to it. I agree. I don't think they would do it. I just am in that position where I do say, but if they are dumb enough to do it for a kid this young, that they played out of position, who has played passable ball, at least out of position, That's the kind of thing, which is what I'd call a market opportunity. And if it's there, go with it and maybe blow their socks off a little bit. You don't have to go above and beyond, but a little bit of like, we only think we can, and you go, you'll give us this, and then roll it there if it's there. But hard to say. The Raiders haven't, made it public on that.
Yeah. And obviously it all depends on what you get back in a trade, right? But if they just think he's that much of a misfit for what they're trying to do, who knows? Maybe they had a really good, although it was a different regime, it was a different GM. But maybe they had a really good grade where was Spytek? He was in Tampa before, right? Working with Jason Licht before he got the Raiders job. Is that his background? Maybe Jason Licht down in Tampa Bay, maybe they had a really good grade on Christian Haynes. And maybe they really like Christian Haynes upside. It's like, okay, well, they were drafted the same year. Their salaries are about the same. Like it's financial, it's a wash. Like, let's just flip these guys and see if change of scenery does them both good. I mean, I could see something like that. I think JPJ has great upside. And for a team that has a bad offensive line and needs to improve it, it's crazy to me that they're thinking about moving him.
Very, very crazy. All right, here we'll get to, we got Tony Borgia, Megan, Feed Me, and Sanchez on the Dono bill. And then if we can, folks, we're going to probably put a button on that because we got the game coming up here soon. And I got to still get an ad read in before we close off. So we're going to we'll go through these kind of a little quicker just to kind of make sure we get through everybody on this one. But if we can hold off on that, we'll be coming back around soon, going live here with the game. Tony Borges, thank you for the $10 donation. Tony says, I could see this being an Arroyo coming out game, and I'm super excited to see this defense with Eamon and Spoon. Thanks for the show before the game. Let's go Hawks. Thank you for that tenor, Tony. You are awesome for that, man, over on your side of things. Appreciate you for that.
Nice job, Tony.
Yeah, this is the game where Arroyo as a mismatch, Bobby, play action. I've thought about under center stuff, especially get a slower linebacker, get him taking a couple steps down on that pathway forward and then having to flip their hips and then get back some speed to then stay with a guy that's kind of got, an ability to really run past him on just even if it's even Steven. So I would just be hammering the under center play action stuff, especially with Oots back here tonight. Would you be taking that same approach?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think you've got to show something different to Dan Quinn and that Commanders defense in the running game and in how you go about executing it. Show them a little bit something different. Have a wrinkle to try and get that thing going. You take advantage of that extra time that you had. Don't just try to rely on, well, we think we're close enough that we don't have to change anything. We just need to execute better. Let's take the tape that we put on. Let's take the stuff we put on tape in the first 7 games and then move the target a little bit for him. Right.
The route, it goes back to like a Madden route, the stick nod route with the tight end, man, where you get him coming up the field, you get him out breaking. Bobby or Luvu is going to want to jump on that out breaking route because they know they're already going to be a hair short on it. And then you take it right up the seam. So it's just like 2 steps out. And then it's
what I want to see from Arroyo.
Yeah, that's
let him run. Like
let him run.
We spent 3 years waiting to see Jimmy Graham do that, and they still never really unleashed that part of his game that he was so good at before. But that's why you go get a guy like Arroyo. There were other things that would have been much more pragmatic for them to spend a 2nd round pick on. If you're going to go get it, spend it on an uber athletic, dynamically talented, Y tight end or move tight end, then use him for that stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I just think you go heavy and then you got JSN out there. Maybe if you get a single high safety, you can get the safety to roll a little bit in his favor. You start the out route, you come up, or you just have him run the seam either way. And now maybe you're actually going to get that real true one-on-one there. And if pass protection can hold up and maybe gets them in a kind of a blitz and you got them in max protect, that kind of situation. And this is the night that it feels like that you really want to hit that and go after that. This should be where Eamon Warren can really shine. And he's given us glimpses. It's not been completely bad. And Barner's ascension has certainly kind of held him back, I think, a bit in this, but he has shown us there's something here, that there's a little bit of something. I'm not the highest guy on him. You know that with me coming out. So
right.
That's not easily said on my part, man.
And work the flats. I feel like we don't pressure teams enough to have to cover the flats. Like we don't throw the ball to the running backs this year really at all. And I just keep thinking about that one play. I know it was preseason, but it was against the starters against Kansas City where Robbie Oots ran that little option route, right? Where he came in motion and then he reversed his field and kind of leaked out into the flat. And what it was ended up being like a 30-yard completion, but use that. Use his, I know he only caught 10 balls at Alabama, but use that tight end background too and leak him out a little bit. I see, man, all over the league today, I see teams doing stuff like that, just letting the running back chip and leak out, and it doesn't have to be a really coordinated, intricate, like we're not allowed to run those kinds of screenplays here in Seattle. It doesn't matter who the play caller or the head coach is, where you pull blockers and get a running back out in space and let the rushers get by their blocks. We don't get to run those. So, but just get Walker in space, get the ball out to him, get Arroyo in space, get the ball out to him, let him run.
Especially in a Walker case, just getting him good touches if they're going to be up stacking boxes, it gets him out in a little bit in space to work with too. So I love it as an idea, and especially on a day like this where you maybe down a couple of receivers and you got to search for it a little bit through. Megan, thank you for the $5 donation. Hawks meet up in Melbourne. Let's do it. Let's make it so, B. Dan, you in?
Tell me where and when, and I'll check my bank account and let you know.
I'll talk him into it. I got some time, Megan. We got a little bit of time before
that
this.
Would be an easy
game,
one for me to talk my lovely partner into. So
there we go.
So, the whole thing.
Maybe honeymoon in Australia, 2 birds with 1 stone.
Maybe just get married while we're there.
Huh?
Maybe just get married while we're there. Just do it on the beach.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's the sell.
Only
right
if we can get Rick Springfield to perform at our.
Ooh, okay. All right. He might be willing to come down, especially there's a football game on it. Feed me. Thank you for the $2 donations. As I agree, Dan, St. Louis and others need a second chance. Yeah. Who's the number 1 city on your list right now that football needs to go back here?
NFL football, if they expanded?
Yeah.
I mean, St. Louis is such a perplexing one, right? Like they've lost 2 franchises and the same franchise twice, or no, 2 franchises. And I hate to word it this way, but they kind of deserve to lose them. Like nobody was going to those Rams games. Terrible ownership aside, but yet they pack the place for UFL and XFL, whatever alphabet league you want to put in their city, they pack the place. That's an interesting one. It's tough because I think there's some markets that are currently not doing great. Like Jacksonville doesn't sell their places out. There's some others around the league too. I don't know. I thought Vegas was obvious. I don't know that there's another obvious one out there right now.
I definitely go west. So I do a Portland or like a Boise, I think, as far as
I feel like I've kind of been all over the map on Portland. I feel like they could support baseball. Football seems like a stretch though. I don't know.
It might be. I'm telling you, though, Boise would be all about it. They love that. Their college team in that town. I know it's a smaller one, but I think
half the city would have to go to every game.
They might there. I'm telling you, they're wired that way down there. That's for sure.
Hey, we just built an El Gaucho in Boise.
There we go. Hell yeah.
Pretty well.
Probably the best food place to be in town. I'll say that. At that point, easy win for them on that one. Sanchez in the house. What's up, R. Sanchez? It's good to see you, brother. Says, I thought the Jets, Giants, Raiders, and Saints were the NFL's minor league. Well, that is kind of true. There is a little bit of a feeder program going on in certain teams in the league right now, especially the Jets when it comes to quarterbacks, right, Dan?
Yeah, geez. Just hold on to one, maybe.
Yeah, maybe just like give it a little more time, boys. You know what I mean? Like,
first you got to get one to hold on to. Did you see the Woody Johnson thing this week about what he said to Jordan Travis?
And we've literally called Woody out before, you and I know we've had talks before about this guy, and he keeps doing the thing like Jerry does, is they just stuff the foot in the mouth, like it's like they like the taste of the lever.
No wonder he retired. Kid's coming off just an absolute, about as bad an injury as you could ever get. Where forget about football, he wasn't sure if he's going to be able to walk normally again, and now he's making a go of it. And the owner walked up to him and says, "You ever going to get on the field?"
You in your life never come close to the injury that I just sustained. It's like anybody watch that tape too when he went down with the leg and ooh man, that's gonna be a tough one to come back off of. And owner should know better. You should know better. And just dude, sell the team. Your reputation. There comes a point ownership wise, you're stuck there. He's not going to do it because that's the thing about having bad owners. They don't sell the team. They refuse. They're just like, no, I'm going to stay with this thing. But you're not going to come back from reputationally where you're at with this. Maybe winning maybe solves all on this, but boy, I don't think he's creating a winner there anytime soon. I don't even know if they really wanted the coach that they got there. I think, or that was just the one that was like the only one that said yes.
Yeah. No, they can't ever get the ones they want.
No.
Yeah.
And it's a struggle bus there. Let's give a quick shout out if we can here to the sponsor. And I want to thank all of you guys. We just got caught up on all the donations, both on Dan and my side. Really appreciate all of those donos. Sorry if we got a little bit faster through today. We got a little bit of a quicker schedule today with the game coming on deck here in about 15 but we do want to take a little bit of time because me and Dan, we're having Dan, I'm doing the Seahawks brand. We're having a code off. We're having a code off, Dan, and I should have gotten your stinking deal before I went live so I could have posted this, but it just means that I'm going to win the code off today, I guess. That's the way that works, buddy. And let's see here. Let me get to my stupid thing here. Boom. There we go. There it is, Dan. All right. Let's see what Dan thinks of my picks for this game. I went a little heavy on the today, Dan. I went 3.5 receptions for Ertz, Bobby Wagner with 10 tackles, basically. Horton, over 2.5 receptions, and Myers with more than a field goal and a half. So 2 on the day above that. What do you think about those picks?
I like them. They're kind of in line with what I'm thinking. And, with some of the injuries, certainly that's a nice little move there with Horton. I went with Darnold over 243.5 passing yards. I thought that was pretty aggressive, but I feel good about it.
Thought about it.
I went Ken Walker over 52.5 rushing yards. I think they fixed some things in the bye week and they'll figure out a way to get that done. And then because I think our defense I think they're going to have a real hard time moving the football or scoring against this. They'll move the football. I got Matt Gay over 1.5 field goals made.
I like that one, especially. I was thinking about putting that one on the top on mine too, but I was like, I don't want to go too heavy on the ticket. I always get sometimes sauced by that one last addition. That's the one that gets me. But look, folks, me and Dan are rocking with Sleeper because it's the #1 sports app running right now in the game. They've got so many more picks and varieties than sometimes you get on some of these other apps. And right now you can use my code NEST or Dan's code
Forever.
Dan's code Forever. I prepped you on that, man. I had the drop prep there. Or Dan's code Forever. And they will match you both either 100% of your first deposit up to $100. So that's $100 from me and Dan to you through the Sleeper app. And you show some love to both of our channels at the same point in time. But wait, there's more because you can do a free $20 entry. Just create a login right now. They'll throw $20 in your account. No code necessary. So up to $120 from us to you, again, showing some love for the channel at the same time. And you can get anything you want. You want the daily fantasy, you want the weekly fantasy, you want to chop it up between, well, now baseball's over with, but we got basketball and football in full swing, college football, throw it all together, put a nice little ticket together, go win yourself some money. You can see on my ticket today, I've got a 5-timer for $38, and Dan's got his own select ticket over there. What's yours working at there, Dan?
I have got, I closed it. I've got,
all right.
No, you're good. I got 20 wins, 107.60.
27. So he's going a little bigger than me. Dan's feeling ballsy today.
That's why I kept it to 3 though. Same.
That's why we call him Dan Let It Ride Viens. That's why we call him that.
I'm terrible at picking stuff. So I let it fly.
I like that, man. Today, sometimes that's when you land into something. I did it on like a Thursday night game I did where I was just like dun, 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 put this big old ticket and then just a hit for me. It's like one of my random hits. A couple more donations here just to finish us on up. And thank you guys so much for all of this. Dogzilla, $10 donation over on Dan's side. Thank you for that, Dogzilla. Very, very kind of you, man. Appreciate you for that. This is an overdue tip. Thanks to Dan. Go Hawks. Well, indeed, Dan does great work, folks. If you get a chance to, please click on the description section below. Hear us, right? Just click in that description section. There's a link directly to Seahawks Forever. That's where you can find Dan Viens. He's on here doing near daily work, double daily work at times over here on this. He's covering it intricately as I am on my side. And, we do our Seahawks Syndicate once a month. I'm sure we're going to be growing that with time and eventually getting that popped up, going even more. So you do want to be following him. Do want to give him a track, give him a sub, give him some love over there. And we'll be part of this all big community thing as we go forward on this side of things. God, the throwbacks look sharp. I love it, man. I'm talking to Bobby on the sideline right now. Let's go. Yeah. I do wish the Washington helmet could be. I know they can. I know I got to be careful. The waters, I stay out of these waters. I'm a kid that you and I were kids that grew up on that helmet. It's just like, there's something to it with the old school, filter on the screens they used to have, non-digital analog look to it. It's like, But neither here nor there. Ours are going to look swaggy and cool, Dan. And finishing this off with a very, very kind donation, Cal Jewel. Thank you for the $2 donation, Cal. Appreciate you. Says, hi, baby. Pumpkin.
Aw.
Well, she appreciates that. Appreciate it all the way around on that, Callie. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody here today. Dogzilla, R. Sanchez, Feed Me, Megan, multiple times over, Tony Borges, multiple times over. I'd rather be flying X-Wing. Jay Gundy, Martin Lawrence, Josie, Shane, Turner, Acoustic. You guys are all, guys and girls, are all awesome for all of that support here to the channel. Really appreciate it on both of our sides of it. As we wrap this up, Dan, the Seattle Seahawks win this game if they
don't turn the ball over.
The Seattle Seahawks lose this game if they don't say turn the ball over.
That would be lazy. That'd be lazy.
Lazy analysis. Come on.
If they let Jaden Daniels get 80 yards rushing.
Ooh, I like that one. Very specific. All right, finish us off here with a score prediction for us, Dan, and then we will put a button on this.
Let's go 27-13.
I've been right in that same place, man. I'm right in that same area. It feels right. It feels true, and it just feels like
it scares me when I feel that good.
I know.
But that's how I feel. So I gotta express how I feel, and you can't control the outcome. You just got to put it out there in the universe and see if it comes back to you.
It's a humbling sport. It really is, because you do feel like you get your fingers wrapped around what you're seeing and understanding, and then just it knocks your hands off of what you're seeing. I mean, go ask the Packer organization right now, where they're at home today and losing that game, and they're like, how and sometimes that's the nature of the NFL. It's just inexplicable and doesn't always go the way that it would seem. But we'll say this: there is something telling the fact that, at least from where we're all kind of seeing, I think, down the line strategically and talking to a lot of people this week, that's sort of same way this playing it out. And I think we all see it for playing out and for all similar reasons. And so whether that holds or not, I think it's at least true to what we're seeing for why this should, I think, be a fairly comfortable win. We've
seen the whole league as much as any time that in recent memory be week to week and game to game. That it's just, I've been saying this for a while. It's not about how you think that a particular roster stacks up against another roster. It's how that team shows up and executes on that day and makes the plays on that day. Washington Commanders have some dudes, and they are perfectly capable at home on Sunday night of running us. I just felt going into the bye that there were some pieces being put in place of something. I hate to throw the word special around too lightly, but something pretty cool and unique being built here, and a coaching staff and a roster that's all kind of dialed in on the same page and working towards being one of the better teams in the conference. And it would be a major disappointment if we didn't take a step forward with that tonight.
Agreed. I can't put it better than that, Dan. Everything is right there for us to be continuing to keep this process going. And Lord knows this NFC West ain't slowing down anytime soon. So we got to keep the pace with these big thoroughbreds round in this track and stay on point with it. I really thank you today for hanging out with me doing this pregame. Let's hopefully get back in here and do it again at some point again here this year. If not soon on that, Dan. I thank you guys all for watching today. I will be back in about 5 minutes here with the live game coverage of this game. Dan's going to be doing, I believe, some post-game stuff. Are you doing the watch along, or?
I wasn't planning on doing a live reaction tonight because it is so late. But if the game warrants it, I'll do a quick one, and then I'll do a full recap tomorrow with the benefit of post-game and coaches' comments and all that.
Amen. Well, please do again. Give Dan a follow over here at Seahawks Forever. And thank you for jumping in here. Let's get this win tonight. Let's keep this ball rolling so we get super aggressive at the trade deadline and just keep firing all those cannons. I don't want to be sitting with $20 million on my cap. I want to use that money. I want to get rolling here, babies. Let's go.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Go Hawks.
Hey, thank you guys for watching. Hit that like button, sub up on either side of it, either Seahawks Forever or here at the Hawks Nest. But until 5 minutes from now, please don't you forget, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.